let's talk about the things that still freak me out. Because let me tell you, spookiness, when things get weird during this time of the year, yes, things get a little freaky, and I would be lying if I was like, I'm fine, it's fine, I don't have any issues. Number one, if I see shadows out of the corner of my eye, it still freaks me out. There are many times where I have to remind myself that it could just be a glimmer, whatever, what have you. It's not necessarily ghost, entity, whatnot. Doesn't necessarily get with me at all. And a lot of times I can just cast off. When I see repeated shadows all the time, I mentioned in my veil thinning video, I notice them a lot more as the veil thins. Something that I just start picking up on. I don't know if it's just because I'm calling in more energy, I'm connected more because the veil is thinning or what have you, but oh my goodness, no. No, no, no. The minute I see them, I start freaking out quite a bit. And I have to constantly remind myself that it's okay. Not that big of a deal. If you saw my most recent video with scrying with mirrors, still freaks me out. Looking into a reflection of something because it's so portally definitely gives me a bit of the heebie-jeebies in some respects. I don't know why, but there's something about it that just feels like, even the window, like I had a thing with windows for a while about the idea of someone looking in, of someone seeing you but you not seeing them, and I think that's kind of what mirrors do for me too. Is the same idea of something is watching me or looking through and I don't necessarily notice it, and like just the whole concept of maybe I left that portal open a little too long. I know something could sneak in, it gets to me and gets me in the irrational fear mode, and off I go. Another thing that always makes me nervous is when I see dead anything. And even though death is a part of life, in a lot of ways it is all about the cycle. I use bones on my altar to remind me of this, and certain symbols and stuff don't really bother me. But there are times where like I'm just walking around my town, and it's happened in every single town I'm in, where suddenly you come across something dead. A bird, a mouse, a rat, what have you, and the minute you see it you're like, is that an omen for something? Do I need to be wary? I was walking to yoga the other day and I saw what I thought was just a random crow feather, and which in me was like, ooh, grab it, take it. And it's not just a crow feather, it was an entire dead crow lying kind of under this bush, and I don't know if like another animal had gotten to it. It still looked pretty like clearly dead, but it wasn't like rotting, had a bunch of flies or anything around it quite yet, and just seeing that was like, oh, especially because like seeing crows and flying and the cawing to me is such a reassuring, like guidance on the right path thing, and so to see a dead one I was like, bad moment's coming, what does that mean? No. No, 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 don't like it. Another thing that still terrifies me in some respects is, and I think it just comes back to like my feeling on ghosts. I have never had a full out holy shit moment with a spirit that I believe, and by spirit I mean like a person who is a human who died, who crossed over, who, like, you know, someone who definitely existed in this life. There are creepy things that happen. There's a cabinet door in my kitchen that opens by itself all the time. For a long time I was chalking it up to just when my neighbors are walking around, it's very thin walls, it like just knocks it open because the latch isn't entirely that great. But there are many times where it's just like I've latched it pretty good. I even put a rubber band on it once and it still opened, so I'm like, okay. But a solid seeing a ghost, having like a real, like, quote unquote, what some people consider a paranormal activity, isn't something that I have full on experience to beyond a doubt. That being said, the idea of going to some place that is extremely haunted for the pure meaning of interacting with something really does not vibe with me. I'm a big fan of, if some stupid person in a horror movie would do it, don't freaking do it. Unless you're doing it with a purpose, right? Like a lot of people would say like, well honey, that's witchcraft. What you doing? But like, I'm not gonna go into the woods by myself at night. No, 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 no. I'm just not gonna do it. I would love to do it. The whole idea of like doing a whole ritual out there in the dark, surrounded by just me in the woods, would be, oh, it feels like there's just so much oomph to it. But I also know that would put me in such a fear mindset. God only knows what I would call to me with that. And I think that's a lot of what comes when I think of places when people are like, that place is haunted. The Queen Mary in LA is a big one. I know that one of my cousins, because she loves the whole horror and spooky thing, but is very much in so many ways a non-believer, chose on Samhain to go to the most haunted place in Texas. If you know what this is, like one of the most haunted hotels in Texas, I think, and went there and was like, cool, let's chill. And no, no. Like, going to a place for the idea of seeing a ghost is like, in a lot of ways, is like my intentions being cast. I would like to see something. And so many times I think people are like, oh, I'm gonna see something, like, da, 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 and like not realizing, like, you cast the intention, like it probably will happen then. And in so many ways, I don't know if I'm necessarily prepared for that, and really conceptually understanding that that can happen. There are times where like freaky things have happened. Both my grandparents died in the house that I used to live in with my parents, and there are times where I would wake up in the middle of the night and hear random noises, and I remember at one point just like sitting up and flat out being like, Grandma, Grandpa, if this is you, that's nice and all, but I can't handle it, so please, if it is you, please stop making the noises. Just, you can watch after me, you can look after all the stuff I'm doing, that's fine, but please don't make yourself known to me in any, like, in this realm, really substantial way, please. I can't handle it. And the noises stopped. So in that respect, I can be like, okay, cool, like, it's my grandparents, that's awesome. But in so many ways, like, this is one of the reasons I also don't really mess with ancestor magic, is because that really firm understanding of seeing a spirit, I don't have that firm psychic connection in that way, other than these small little things I guess I've mentioned to y'all here. Like, physically seeing a ghost is not something I've done. Having something that I can undoubtedly be like, it's not the pipes, it's not this, it's what it, that's something else. It's not something I have very firmly encountered as a person who was crossed on. Having experiences with deity, being followed by a crocodile in a zoo, having really weird coincidences pop up in regards to that doesn't really bother me as much. Something about like having a old, I don't know, pagan god tapping into weird ways that they can be like, hey, do this, even though I can kind of recognize them as like a level of power that I couldn't possibly even comprehend. Like, it's very weird. Just knowing actual physical people ghosts really freak me out a lot of times. And so I'm never gonna go to a very respected haunted place knowingly, because I did go to the Queen Mary once and I didn't know how haunted that place was. We walked around, and then me and my sister got a drink at the bar with my family, and it was great, and my mom wanted to do a historical tour, and I flat out told her no, because we didn't have the time and I didn't want to. And let me tell you how grateful I am that my little ass was that bored and didn't want to know how haunted that place was. Because I didn't, and now I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna step foot on it. I'm not doing it. Another thing that always kind of freaks me out, and it's something that I am in a way hyper aware of, is the idea of, and I guess this in this cliche way of messing with a entity and or a tradition that I don't know that much about. So I love to dabble with my craft. I am all about, let's play with this, let's pull this in, you know, a little chaos, eclectic, witchy, all about it. Pulling in the things I think that work best for you and casting out the rest I think is so important, because in the end of the day, it's your craft, and especially if you're solitary, no one's fucking watching other than whatever the hell you're calling in. But there is in the back of my head, and maybe this is done by horror movies or, you know, just by cultures at large, but like when it's unknowable, when you don't know what you're messing with, maybe you shouldn't mess with it. And by that I mean, there was a time when something, like if I get a certain candle and that is in regards to a deity, like I didn't purchase it, it was gifted to me, of a deity that I don't necessarily, like they aren't one of my three, I am very careful about not disrespecting anything to do with that candle. I handle it very nicely. I don't really mess with it. I give it a lot of reverence, and then I find a way to respectfully get rid of it. One of the things that I realized I was doing was, while I was in Mexico, I picked up this lovely thing. And it's just like a fishbone, you know, all blended up into like a mold skull situation, like, but it's got a lot of Aztec not Aztec, Mayan? Yeah, Mayan. It's the Mayan calendar with Chichen Itza on the back. And now I've visited Chichen Itza many years ago on my last trip to Mexico, which I was like 12, something like that, I don't know. But one of the things that when imbibing the magic and the stuff there, it's like, listen, this is not my culture. This is the witchcraft and stuff that is practiced there, the gods, deities they could be tapping into, the mythology, all of that, I don't know. And in that way, I found myself being extremely like constantly in a state of cautious gratitude, if that's interesting enough. Like, I was casting my energy in the land, being like, I'm here, thank you for letting me walk this ground, thank you for providing me with the time to relax. Thank you so much for the hard work your people did on this land, and for the sacredness. I give honor to you and all that. Please don't fuck with me. There are a couple times where I have heard kind of noises or rumblings in my hotel room, and the hotel is very new, so I don't think like that's the issue. I think a lot of it is just when a magical person walks onto a place, someone who's really interacting with the energies, is really conscious of what they are doing, I think they just naturally are going to attract and pick up more stuff that's happening, right? So I think I was tapping into a couple things, and I wanted to make sure I was doing it extremely respectfully. Not my culture, not my land, not where my people are from, not what my ancestors were doing, and I'm extremely respectful, because the last thing I want is to enrage a spirit or an entity or a deity, you know, something from a place that I know nothing about. Like, I don't have any in-depth working knowledge of this thing. And finally, the thing that I'm trying to currently get over is the idea of using in magic in my spells. I am really want to make a puppet for myself for self-love, and I think I'm gonna make it out of an old shirt that is kind of like wearing down, like it's got some holes in it already, it's kind of breaking apart. And so I'm going to sew it out of that, plus something that's like I've worn, it's been on my person, I feel is a great connection to me already. So using it as a way to make a puppet I think is really important. But I want to put things like my fingernails and some clippings of my hair, some spit, some blood. I want all of this to go into the puppet. But that fear of it having such a strong connection to me, of such protection, like I know I could cast so much protection around it that no one could get to it, nothing could do anything awful to it, but I have this like weird fear of like, fuck, what if someone finds this and fucks with it? Like, it is directly connected to me, and I know that by extending that belief and that intention, in some ways I'm kind of invoking it to happen, right? But I am afraid of that. I'm afraid of making this puppet for self-love and giving my energy to it in such a way. And there's probably a bunch of shadows too with like actually giving. I've realized I've had a hard time with devoting so much of my, like, doing a section of my magic to like personal growth and gain, I think is fine, but like doing a majority of my magic to being like, hey, I want to love and I want this, I want that, whatever else, is difficult. I don't know, it just I'm still trying to wrap my mind around some of the fears I have with the idea of creating something that is so magically tied to my literal person. Is a big fear, I guess, of maybe other people finding it, of other energies getting involved with it, of me being able to put the proper energy to it, or is that fear gonna get involved with it too much? I don't know. And it's always fun, I think, to kind of reveal this type of stuff, especially during the spooky parts of the year, because this is when our fears come up more. Because as I said in my veil thinning video, it's the idea that we have really suspended our disbelief of all the things that can happen, and with that comes the fears of all those things. So anyway, comment down below, what is some piece of witchcraft or something that really still freaks you out, still makes you nervous, or something that you've always been a little overly cautious with? May it change, may it never change, who knows? All that down below. As it is Youtober, I make new videos every single day, and I will see you guys tomorrow.